advice do you have how to learn about politics, social issues, history, then how to get involved in mutual aid and advocacy and all that?
So what I would say, because I'm gonna make sure I pulled up your questions because I want to make sure that I answered everything.
Thank you.
So when it comes to how to educate yourself, I tell people, what are you interested in? Because it's impossible for everyone to be educated on every single thing and on every single topic. So you're going to want to be educated on like the basics and the broad thing, like what does the House do? What does the Senate do? What powers do the president have? And then you're going to look at your governor in your state because each governor is different. What is your lieutenant governor? Like you're going to want to know, like on the federal level, who your representatives are, what their jobs are, what can they do and can they not do, because politicians are really sneaky when they say things that they can't do, and you have to know like actually you do have the power to do this thing. On the federal level, our senators and our Congress people have a lot of power, as does the president, but it's also important to know locally. So you're going to want to know like a broad thing about politics, like kind of how that goes, the branches of government. But when it comes to things that impact you or things you like, that's where you really want to hone in on. So you need to just think about what are your passion, what are you passionate about? What matters to you? Like I said, if your thing is education and education is really important to you, you're going to want to make sure that you know everything, almost everything there is to know when it comes to education and when it comes to public education and how that's funded, the difference between charter schools, private schools, and public schools, how they're funded, how the Department of Education is run. So you're going to want to know a lot about that. If you are really passionate about environmental and climate issues, you're going to really want to know about climate change, how that works, and then what our government and what your representatives and other representatives are doing when it comes to that thing. So if, and I'm saying climate change because my mom's really, she's my whole life, she's been, even before it was cool, it was like recycling when she would have to take it to actual recycling center. So for her, that really matters. So people's climate and environmental policy on top of their voting record matters to her. So you're going to look up what the Paris Accord agreement is right now, because that's what's going on, or if they're the Green New Deal or anything else that has to do with environmental issues. So you're pretty much going to want to give yourself a broad education, but figure out what moves you. Do you really care about social movements such as disability rights and policing and immigration rights? Then if you're passionate about that, then you're going to want to learn everything you can about that, and then get involved. If you're in college, get involved on campus with those organizations. If your campus doesn't have that organization, then start that organization. I think college campuses mostly have a club for any and everything. But once you get plugged into that club, environmental safety club, I just to name something, that's going to get you around people who are like-minded like you, who are focused on the same issues as you. And then you'll learn a little bit more about what's going on locally with environmental issues, and that'll help you tap into nationally. So that's the best answer. Learn about broad general things when it comes to politics, but just think about what you're passionate about, what you're good at, and what you want to do, and just get into that little niche.
That's excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you. Now that you brought it up, I'll probably plug a few groups we have on campus. We have CalPERG, we have the Disabled Students Union, which is really cool. Come check it out. We have, what else is there? There's a lot of groups. I can't really do justice to this one off the top of my head. I'll probably put it in the description, but great advice. Thank you.
Yeah, just look it up, and you can start there. Like almost anything you're interested in, there's a club for that. And you normally find that on campus, and more often than not, they're working with an organization that's off campus, that's a community support. So one of the things that, because it personally impacted me when I was in college, was food insecurity. and the food banks on campus. And so I needed to go to the food bank, so I did that. And I realized how prevalent that was. And I wasn't aware that like 1/3 of students are food insecure on college campuses. And then we had a lot of things going on my campus where we had food drives where students can get food, and they had like a whole kitchen for students. But when you're doing that, you also get plugged into your food banks in your community. So I learned a lot about the food banks that were in those communities. So I did volunteer work, and then you meet more people that's into that. And it really does snowball. So whatever you're into, if you're in college right now, it's the perfect time to really get into it because you meet other people who are like-minded like you, and it gives you a sense of community. So when I talk about community, that's what I mean. People who are like-minded like you, who are focused on what you're focused on, who live around you where you can make a direct impact. So if you're on a college campus in Atlanta, Georgia, or Orlando, Florida, and you go to the college there and you're into like climate change, focus on that on campus because you'll meet people outside of campus that are doing this, and they may have organizations that are focused on that, or you'll get to know what your state legislators, who the people are that are focused on that, and it just really snowballs, and you just connect with people. So that's where you would want to start off really small that way if you're going through the college route. If you're not in college right now and you're saying, well, how do I connect with people? I'm not in college anymore, or I'm not in college yet. Let's say you're in high school. If your school doesn't have something like that, a lot of times if you go to your county, I'm just saying when I was in Columbia, when I was in grad school there, I was in Richland County, and I was able to go to my county's website just to see what they're doing and what's needed and what services are available. And then from those list of services that were available, I thought about how could I help? Because I'm not good at everything. You can't, no one can be good at everything. But I was thinking, well, what can I do? What can I offer? What am I good at that I can offer? And then I got plugged into the community there. So even if you're not in college, or if you graduated or you're not there yet, if your high school doesn't have something, or you're out of school and you're just an adult working every day, go to your county's or state website to see, just Google an organization or Google something you're thinking about. Transportation. I know I have a friend of mine that's really focused on public transit. And for her, that's really important. She lives in the DMV area. So they're focused on making sure everyone has access to public transportation, and they're working to make public transportation free. So she got involved with people in that area, and they built a community, and they're really fighting for that thing. So no matter how small it is or big it is, or it doesn't matter if anyone else thinks it's insignificant, you focus on what you like, what you're good at, what you're passionate about, and you find your community, and they will uplift you and build you up.
Amazingly said. Thank you so much. Amazing. Let's see. And this is zooming out now. What's the biggest issue overall with the politics and public policy we have in the US? And what is it that we can do about it?
So I think the biggest issue overall with politics in America right now, I would say is team politics. It's Republican versus Democrat, and it's my team versus your team. So people are so caught up in teams, they're not looking at policy, and they're not looking at the human element to say, what's good for people? What does the American people need? What are the things that need to be addressed right now? What are the things that are imperative? We hear about climate change. That's really important. We know that COVID is here, and, healthcare, making sure everyone has, they say access, but I think universal healthcare. For the past 2 years, I have been, and I just gotten this training, I think somebody put me in there by accident, about disability services. That has become one of the things that's close to my heart, disability services, and how underfunded it is nationally and a lot of state levels. So that's another big thing. Policing, we see that with criminal justice and policing, that's a big thing. Transportation, infrastructure. I'm very anti-war. more of a peaceful person. I just want like live in a world where people are peaceful. So I pay attention to the wars that we are in, and I just think that that's a really big thing that we need to stop and reel back in to the point where it's 2021 and we're going on 20 years in wars.
And I mean, yeah, Congress is like 20 years ago. I mean, I wasn't even born. A lot of people listening to this probably weren't born then or barely were like not walking. And Congress is like, oh no, we got attacked. We need to, obviously, we are going to make authorization so we can get the people who did this. And I mean, it's 20 years later. People who did it are dead. And we're like in bombing 7 countries, which weren't involved, and it's like, and like you go on news and you barely even hear. It's like it becomes some weird background thingy, like it's not even important enough to talk about being at war and how that affects people, how that affects our soldiers, and how that affects everyone in all those countries where you're dropping bombs and all the other, like it's weird. News is weird sometimes. They're like the stuff they think is important and the stuff they think isn't important. It's like, what are your priorities? Like, yeah, I know it hurt your feelings. Trump made a rude tweet about you, but I'm not saying that they can never mention stuff like that, but like the biggest issues are often kind of ignored.
Yeah, and it's, there are people like my son, I have a son, has never known a life where America wasn't at war with somebody to do something. So like those are big issues. So there are a lot of big issues with politics, but I do want to say like the number one thing that I've noticed is teams, and they're picking teams based on political party. And a lot of people aren't looking at the human interaction and just saying, what do we need? What do working class people need? What do just Americans need, and not so focused on teams. I'm not affiliated with a political party. I used to be a registered Democrat. I'm not anymore, because the teams, I just realized that when you're focused on teams and not focused on people, too many things fall through the cracks. And you're so busy defending your political party or attacking another political party that we aren't focused on what needs to be done. And then of course money in politics, but I've just noticed lately the team aspect of it is just, that's an issue that needs to be fixed. And we just need to focus on what's good for people instead of if this is going to help or hurt a political party. Yeah, because I don't care about political parties. I care about people.
It's true. It's amazingly sad because that's like, it's not, I mean, you look at this stuff, I remember for a while, several years, and again this year with COVID, like we had the life expectancy we're having in this country was going down. That's bigger. Like these political parties are going to be perfectly fine without you. I imagine they're not going to. It's not like our major political parties are going to all of a sudden have nothing to eat because we are not doing enough to support our political parties, but our fellow citizens and our fellow humans around the world, they do end up with really serious problems from a lot of policies we have. So that's where the focus should be, because that's what it's, and then like that's the point of it. I think it was Dwight Eisenhower who said any political party that's not there to try and make stuff better and try and help people is just a conspiracy to seize power. So that's like, if that's not the focus, and like if one doesn't make it be at the center, then it's kind of just like missing the point. Like that. So I love that. That's really great what you said.
I agree. That was a good one. That was a good quote.
Thank you. Thanks. Yeah, it is. I love that. Love it. Let me check and make sure I'm attributing that right. That. Let's see. Yeah, let's see. Eisenhower said, let me pull this up. If a political party does not have its foundation in the determination to advance a cause that is right and that is moral, then it is not a political party. It is merely a conspiracy to seize power. And he had some other good quotes too. So while we're here, I think I'll pull those up.
That's a really good quote.
Yeah.